Right, so the great Labour exodus of elected officials and members continues in the run-up to local elections just under a month away. The staunch refusal of the governing party of Red Tory liar Keir Starmer and those slithering in his wake, meting out the most callous and cruel policies, the political choices they've chosen to make, the war on the elderly, on children, on the disabled, as cut after cut is meted out. They claim at the same time, we're all feeling better off though, as the minimum wage rises, as if it hasn't done so every year since its inception, as if it is something special that they have done, whilst our bills explode, the cost of living worsening, and they grin and smile and say, don't you feel better? It's a government of sociopaths, but it is a government set to pay a heavy price too, with polling collapsing already and with scathing remarks being left by quitting councillors. And one particular resignation, it has to be said, is as hilarious as it is damning, because I've never seen one like this before. Right, so amid cruel cuts and Tory policies dressed up as change, when the only change in reality is the colour of the tie being worn, and with local elections just a month away, Keir Starmer's Labour Party is hemorrhaging members still, hemorrhaging councillors, supporters at an alarming rate. And of course, they deserve every bit of it, don't they? Progressive politics died a death when he came in as Labour leader. He's lurched so far to the right, embracing austerity, welfare cuts, and policies more brutal than even the Conservatives dared implement, that long-standing members and elected officials around the country are abandoning it in disgust, and they just carry on as if this is the right way, this is the way it must be. Starmer even deluding himself that the local elections will show people are behind his party, but they're only behind you insofar as they've put on a bloody great pair of Doc Martens to boot you out of power with. These defections are a damning indictment of his leadership, a leadership that has betrayed its core values, alienated its base, and left the Labour Party in freefall. Across the country, Labour representatives are quitting in protest at Starmer's leadership, some defecting to alternative left-wing parties, others staying on as independents, and as people bear the brunt of all the political cruelty and ineptitude that we face from Labour, it won't be Labour again that they turn to. The most explosive issue driving resignations is Labour's embrace of brutal social security cuts, welfare cuts, which have left many lifelong members asking what is the point of a Labour Party that punishes the poor? Labour is supposed to be the party of the working class after all. Instead it now positions itself as the party of work, putting themselves on the side of the bosses and not ordinary working class people, whether they are in work or not supporting people into work but coercing them into it, whether they are fit and able to or not, all supposedly in the name of growth. And it is ordinary people spending their money in their communities that drives economic growth. And this rancid government does everything to make us all worse off instead. Their drive for growth will therefore fail. You cannot cut your way to growth. The Tories tried it for 14 years, it failed, and now this shambles under Starmer approving Einstein's definition of insanity by doing it all over again and expecting a different result. In Wales, Councillor Anthony Wedlake of Wrexham Council has quit the party, declaring that our oft-used refrain of "I have not left Labour so much as Labour has left me." He's defected to Tusk in a direct response to Starmer's decision to slash disability benefits, a move Wedlake described as morally indefensible, and a reason given by a great many of those quitting the party at this point as utterly inexcusable as they are. Wales has long been a Labour stronghold, of course, has long been seen as representative of those Labour values, yet Labour now stand on the cusp of losing control of Wales for the first time since devolution, carrying on as they are, abandoning their principles. Kent County Councillor Karen Constantine, a Labour member for over 4 decades, has also quit. Another long-standing member of the party, all the more damaging as her resignation is as a result. She has quit in despair, stating, "I cannot in all conscience remain in a party that is implementing policies which will cause real harm to the most vulnerable in our society, and therefore is again emblematic of the sheer scale of the disgust the cuts to disability benefits is driving amongst ordinary members and local and regional representatives." Constantine's departure, like Wedlake's, is symbolic of a wider trend, though. Loyalists who joined Labour to fight for social justice are now watching in horror as it morphs into a vehicle for austerity and social justice goes out of the window. In Greater Manchester, another councillor has gone. Tameside councillor Gary Ferguson has quit, accusing Labour of pursuing policies that are more right-wing than the Tories. Who's going to argue with that point? especially after we saw Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, stand up in Parliament and jeer at the Tories in connection with disability cuts, that Labour were doing things the Tories only dreamed of doing, because even they weren't this cruel. And that is no word of praise for the Tories at all, because how many people died on their watch as they slashed social security? How many more are going to perish now then? Streeting berated them for not going as far as Labour is. Ferguson's comments highlight the abject stupidity of the route Starmer has chosen to follow, therefore, the led-by-the-nose political pygmy that he is, in that by trying to out-Tory the Tories, Labour has alienated its own voters, driving them away, driving their own elected representatives away, without winning over any Conservative supporters at all. The Tories are perversely recovering somewhat, but I'll come to those polling figures in a moment. Perhaps the most damaging consequence of Labour's rightward shift is that former members are now actively campaigning against that party for other parties. Still campaigning for social justice, of course. Still campaigning for the same values they always believed in. Still campaigning for ordinary working class people. It's just a case that Labour is no longer the vehicle for that. And in my view, is now the biggest obstacle to it. Paul Ainscough is one such example, a former Croydon Labour councillor, a former Labour prospective parliamentary candidate even. He's now standing for the Green Party in 2026. Given the Greens' recent successes in local elections there, 2 councillors elected for the Greens in 2022, Labour should be deeply worried about losing left-wing votes to them, that they really oughtn't to be losing at all if Labour was still following their traditional values, instead of having sold out to vested interests. There is another resignation I want to bring up, though, because for me, I think this is a first. And frankly, this could only happen to Keir Starmer, really, where an entire building has now quit the Labour Party. In what I think is a delicious moment of comedic irony, the Whitstable Labour Club, established in 1978, is officially disaffiliated from the Labour Party, rebranding itself as the Whitstable Social Club. How the hell does a building quit the party, Damo, you might be thinking? Well, the entire committee resigned, stating they could no longer associate with a party that had abandoned working class people. When even a building, in effect at any rate, rejects Labour, it's clear the party is in existential crisis, and if you're still hanging in there when even bricks and mortar are walking away, what is your excuse? Head with rocks? But as much as resignation like these are damning, it is electoral consequences of Starmer's leadership that will become impossible for him to ignore, or his party, and where he is boasting about the local elections, I believe he could be facing an historically bad night, and every bit of it 100% deserved. Recent Westminster polling has placed Labour in a distant third behind both the Conservatives and Reform UK, proving the point so many of us on the left have been saying, that Starmer's drive to the right is going to put this country in the hands of fascism come the next election. Where Starmer might be talking things up, behind the scenes even he must know things aren't looking good. Aside from managing to undemocratically call off some local elections, up to 13 of his own cabinet ministers are at risk of losing their seats come the next election, as current polling currently stands. Scalps that could be taken include Wes Streeting, Angela Rayner, Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, Ed Miliband, possibly Labour's biggest sellout to Starmer, Chancellor Rachel Reeves, DWP boss overseeing those disability cuts Liz Kendall, and Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, who could then perhaps join her husband Ed Balls on the Good Morning Britain sofa instead of being interviewed by him. Keir Starmer's Labour is no longer recognisable as a party of the left. By embracing austerity, slashing welfare, purging socialists, let's not forget that one. He drove us away, told us this is a changed party, and if you don't like it, there's the door. Of course, many of us took that door, didn't we? And we've taken our votes with us. Starmer's created a hollowed-out, Tory-like entity that satisfies nobody except the super-rich and the party donors who get ever richer, sucking the wealth of this country out of the economy as they do, the hindrance to growth that they actually are. They're not growth builders, they're growth destroyers. The mass resignations from councillors to entire Labour clubs demonstrate a grassroots revolt against a revolting leadership that has lost its way. So have you got local elections near you this year? Are you going to vote Labour still, or for someone else? A vote for change? Do tell me about it in the comments below. But do get your head right if you're still going to vote Tory or Reform. But for more on the other resignations from the Labour Party, please do check out this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you've not done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as helping support the channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people. And I will hopefully catch you on the next video. Cheers, folks.